GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to the weekly wrap-up. I think I can get me out of here and make sure my audio is still working. Every Friday, we go live and focus on the different things that were created this week that are focused on our Second Amendment, or what our Second Amendment protects more accurately. I like to pause it usually at a ninja, but I couldn't do it this week. Or maybe, wait. No, I couldn't do it this week. All right, so what we're going to be looking at here is we're sharing the screen. About a third or a quarter of the screen is devoted to the comments. So people that are showing up live, thank you. We do this live, so people that show up to the stream are appreciated, and attempt to look at the comments as I'm chatting here. So we're going to say hey to DJ, first one to show up. Woods is out there as well. Thanks to Woods for grabbing some stuff at the store this week, our Gear Website store. We'll be sending you one of our 2A maps of 2A drafts from that project. I just finished a draft 2 of that, so I had a couple of printouts. I'll send you one of those. Kingpin's out there. Good evening. RTAC is a good point. We'll talk about that in a second. Mike is out there, and welcome to everybody. Oh, then Barbecue is out there. Welcome to everybody else that shows up while we're filming live or streaming live. We'll put a little star on this one so that we'll be sure to talk about it. All right, so if you got any comments or concerns or whatever you want to bring up, feel free to throw them in the comments there. We'll pay attention to them. What we're doing over here on the main part of the screen then is looking at the description of this video. So I'm going to go to my browser and magnify it a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see. We'll drop down and open up the description of the video, and you can see there's a stuff from our print-on-demand store. So if you're interested in supporting what we do over here and show off what some of our logos and different creative stuff, you can click on one of these links. Almost everything costs $19.84, 20 bucks. But you can click on more, and that'll drop down the description there, and that's what we're going to be looking at for the majority of the show tonight. And let's dig in. So I guess first off, I should mention there is a poll going. It's absolutely free to participate in. And the question, pretty much I always start the show off with each week, is how was this week for our Second Amendment? So it's either great, good, okay, or bad. And we've got one vote for bad and a couple of votes for great. But let's take a look at that vote for bad. I believe that's probably RTAC who has a point. The Violence Against Women Act is on What's-His-Face's desk. So that's a bad week. And that's an interesting point. And I'm not going to say that's, well, it definitely happened. But it's not the only thing that happened. So I can't say it's the worst week. I guess if that would have happened by itself. But that's a good one. And it's not like we can do anything about that specifically other than be aware of it and put it in the column for a loss, right? But we got to keep going with black eyes. We got to keep going with busted noses. We got to keep going with everything, right? We got to keep going. So still a valid point. Feel free to vote how you want. We'll take a look at the poll as we go along here. Thanks to the people that are thumbing it up and clicking on the little bell. Isn't there supposed to be a bell? Maybe I don't get a bell. But all the people that participate in the platform, I always talk about Instagram's platform because I could care less about YouTube's platform, but I should mention it once in a while. If you want to participate in the projects or the stuff that you watch online, you know, some of it's just fluff, right? Some of it's just entertainment or whatever, who cares? But some of it matters, right? Some people are out there putting some real effort in. And if you want to help encourage them and you want to help motivate them, help them in the mechanics of this whole thing to understand how the system works, isn't real difficult. There's a little couple of buttons there. Click them, right? So if you give it a thumbs up, we appreciate it. So thanks for doing that. But if you do it on other people's videos, then I've taught you to fish. I don't care less if you thumb up this video, but if you get in the habit of thumbing up videos, you running around on the platform are now an entity, and YouTube thinks of an entity that participates more highly than they think of an entity that does nothing but consume. So if you are the type of person that just comes up to YouTube and consumes, your participation is at that level, and that's fine. There's no law that says you have to participate more than that. However, if you are participating, if you're using the platform, every time you like and share and all those kind of things, the platform recognizes that, and not just what you're doing, but the fact that you did it. So the more often you do it, the more valuable you become to the platform. And if you listen to somebody like Clover, the grout or the mortar is more important than the bricks or the stones in the wall. The stones and the bricks need to be there for the bulk, for the mortar to have something to tie together, but it would just be a pile of stones with no structure if it weren't for that mortar. So if you consider all of us that are out here participating in the platforms as the mortar in that wall, the strength in the wall, the thing that ties it all together, then using the platform is the way that you are effective there. So thanks to the people that do thumb it up. But again, hopefully you take that away with you and use that on other people's projects. All right, enough about that. We'll dig into the description of this video. As it says, we look at what is focused on our Second Amendment. I've been posting this kind of update at the beginning of the thing each week. I'd really rather have this posted on a website. I just really don't have the time, and I'm not complaining. I just don't have the time to do it. I don't have a staff, so this is what we get. I put it at the beginning of the video here, but really this should be someplace like a score sheet or like a scoreboard. Anyhow, we have Alabama passing their constitutional carry. That happened this week, so that's a good one. We have Georgia passing it from a committee up to the House. So, oh no, excuse me, it went from the House. Now it goes over to the governor, I believe. Indiana, their constitutional carry is at the governor. Nebraska had a gathering of NFOA members for the legislative session yesterday. Was that yesterday? And their voting is soon. I can't remember when their voting is now. And then we got Ohio sitting at the governor's desk as well. I think this is still sitting in a bill, right? It's still sitting, or is it sitting waiting for the governor in Nebraska? I need an update on that. And then we get a couple other things going on. So there's no order here of priority. So these are interesting. And if you live in those states, they're super important to you. Or if you're just paying attention, Alabama just became our 22nd state to have constitutional carry. So we're 3 states away from having half of the country need no permit for anyone who's legally able to own a firearm, to carry a firearm however they want. And we've got 4 states that have a bill for just that, either at the governor's desk or approaching the governor's desk. 3 states that we all have family, business, travel, some interaction with if we don't live there. But either way, that's something interesting that's happened. But we also have some other things that's happening. One is a national level situation that was just an act submitted or suggested by some representative, and they called it the Violence Against Women Act. However, it's veiled inaction and persecution against property. So it's anti-gun legislation veiled under violence, frosting. And we had 39 Republicans in the House and 18 Republicans in the Senate vote for it, and it's now headed into Biden's desk. And that's what RTAC was talking about earlier, that, it's definitely rain on the parade. It is definitely clouds in the sky, but it isn't, it's not good. There's nothing good about it. It's a black eye. Moving on from that, though, we've got Connecticut having a situation that is a huge I don't know what to call it, like landslide. Something like 36 pieces to this. There's been some focus on it with Barbecue and Brooke on a Great Start Shooting School. We'll talk about that in a bit. But this is still something that's in the fight. They're going to be going Monday, I believe, to offer testimonies And that means up until Sunday, the Connecticut Citizens Defense League is facilitating individuals who'd like to offer testimony of a method to do that, the function to do that. There's a link here to the Zoom registration where you can log in, and they're allowing people to virtually offer testimony, in which I believe they'll take it then to the state and offer it to the legislature, the representatives there on Monday. Then I already mentioned the Violence Against Women Act. Then we get Nebraska, and Nebraska, as I mentioned, had a couple of updates, just that with everything else going on this week, spinning. I can't remember what the results. I know everybody left the town hall thing yesterday and drove home. You know, Nebraska's not little. So everybody who showed up there had some hours of travel to get there, hours of time there, you know, making their presence known and interacting, and then hours of drive back home. And after all that, they gave us the sit rep, and I don't remember where we're at on that. Yeah, there's no poll on that side. It's just on the main gun website side. Yep. Only okay as any infringements in 2A equal a not so good week. Yeah, that's valid. So it's sort of a different tack than our tack. All right, so next up is a state that's not listed here because they already had their infringements happen. Washington State just had some issues with their magazine ban passing. So Faas, who normally has a show just every other Saturday, has an extra show last weekend and had SA on, and they chatted about what to do now that that magazine ban had passed. That's interesting. I have not listened to that one yet. I don't know if anybody has. Can offer some feedback on it. What do you mean 35-9? So I don't know what that means. Give me some feedback on that. Is that what you're saying? It passed the House 35-9. Now it's on its way to the governor's desk. I'm assuming that's what he means. All right. So then getting into, they're not really in the best order. Okay, yeah. So after a motion to end debate and several others, a vote was taken, and that LB legislative bill, I guess, 773 advanced with a 35-9 vote. Right on. All right, so Brooke had a couple of shows actually quite a few shows this week. One was with Jake, and we'll talk about that in a moment here. But this one, I believe, is dissecting the Connecticut massive anti-gasm extravaganza. So this was a live show and worth checking out. It's a difficult thing to deal with because it's so massive, 32 sections, and they involve all kinds of crazy infringements. Let's see. Then Brooke had an opportunity for people who wanted to, or who might want to be involved. She often offered some, I think she called it open, or no, she called it office hours. She offered some open time where she would participate with anybody who was interested in learning how to write testimony or be an activist. And she posted that earlier in the week. So I don't know if she knew what was coming and it was just timely, or if she knew it was coming, it was intentional and she was getting people ready, or it was just timely because she ended up ended up being a resource people could use later on in the week. All right, so next up is the short video from Mike over at Walk the Talk America. They posted this one today, I think, maybe earlier today or yesterday, about why gun owners might be hesitant about getting mental health. And Mike just talks for maybe 2-3 minutes. It must be a segment from a longer conversation with somebody about that topic. And he makes a good point. Basically, gun owners are self-reliant, and self-reliant people don't tend to ask others for help, right? So kind of obvious, but when offered in a way that, in the right words and the right method, right? It might be able to get through to people who don't quite get that, who might be convinced that gun owners are just ornery or, anti, what's the word? Just doing things to be antagonistic or something. Because often we're put in that light, and without a gun person being there to offer a different perspective, they can cast us in whatever light they want. So if they want to say, oh, gun owners are just so disconcerted about other people, they're only worried about their property, right? Like, well, then that's a bad portrayal, or an inaccurate portrayal of our situation, or gun owners in general. So Mike offers a way of expressing that concept about resistancy or hesitancy about seeking help. And again, that's not only interesting from our point of view, so that we have another way to express our situation to people who would otherwise be, have that message or that perspective, manipulated by somebody else, somebody who's against us, but also to doctors. Mike's message reaches doctors in a whole nother way, that they might not realize that gun owners are a specialty. Gun owners are not the same as a car owner. There's not the same connotations. Car owners aren't marginalized. If a car owner isn't going to be considered a drunk driver, nobody says, oh, drunk drivers, there's another car owner that drunk drove, right? Nobody puts that connotation on other pieces of property. Well, maybe knives or swords or something might, but most of the time knives are kind of laughed at or blown off because most people don't have the skill to wield a sword, I suppose, or a knife. But anyhow, Mike had a great little segment there, worth checking out. Then we get to Locked and Loaded, who used to be always at the top, but you know what? It's not that they've done less. It's just that there's been so many important things happen in the beginning of this year. Probably the legislative sessions and the fights that we've got have just kind of pushed the observational shows off of the top of the list. But I still enjoy their perspective, and they do give a broader perspective than most of the other shows I watch, at least. Paying attention to pop culture a little bit. They were paying attention to the Batman movie last week. And then in this particular one I'm linking to here, they interviewed Jared from Guns and Gadgets. So it's cool to see them reaching out and getting others, collaborating with others and getting others involved in their show. The interviews are cool, and them doing like a Saturday show with their standard format, and then the interview show on Sunday when they have the time is definitely cool. So if you haven't checked it out, still one of my favorite channels. Just like say, they haven't, their goal isn't to be a reactionary or proactive Second Amendment channel, as much as a lifestyle show focused on Second Amendment, aware of Second Amendment, but also bringing in more stuff. So anyway, doing what they're doing, and still a good couple of shows. Did I put the other one in here? I guess I didn't even put the other one in here. I'll have to put their Saturday show in here too. But only missed it unintentionally because of the way that I go through my history and create this file or this description here. All right, next up would be the season finale, the season 1 finale of the Light Overheat series from Professor Yamane. And pretty interesting. He kind of summarized the project, where he's attempting to offer normalizing firearms ownership through a series of quick videos to address the normal marginalizations of gun owners, or the normal BS that we have to deal with. Again, since he's a college professor and he's focused on his conversation is focused on people on the fence, or maybe even antis or newly awoken gun owners or whatever, his perspective is always different than typical. So I'm always going to recommend checking it out. It may not be what you're looking for, but it's definitely tools you can put in the toolbox. So just like a stupid shotgun or a worthless revolver or another overpowered semi-auto that you can't control, it's still a firearm, right? They're still guns. And even if you don't want them in your collection, you probably know how to use them. You may not like every single one of the tactics and strategies that some of these projects are using, but knowing that they're out there makes you a better advocate and makes you more competent when you're talking to people who would casually blow off all gun owners as if we're all worried about property or our own rights over society, liberty, or each other. And that's obviously couldn't be further from the truth. And if you're not able to verbalize that or enunciate that, then consider learning how to shoot a shotgun. Like maybe you just think shotguns are stupid because of how stupid they are. But have you ever shot 5-stand? Like it's really hard to say shotguns are stupid once you've shot 5-stand. 5-stand's really awesome. Or sporting clays. Some people would say sporting clays is even more fun than 5-stand. And they're both more fun than trap or skeet. And I would say trap or skeet are more fun than almost anything you can do at a long distance rifle range. And all of that stuff is more interesting than almost anything you can do indoors at an indoor range, except for indoor IDPA or bowling pin matches. So everything is lame and everything is good. And that's the same with advocacy. It's all lame if you just look at it on the surface. But once you start digging into it, you figure out that not only is it probably cool, but the people that are doing it are gun owners in a whole different way. And once you start talking to them, you find out things about them like, oh, I got this M1 carbine that I don't appreciate and I'm selling it cheap because I'd rather get some dumb gun. And now you've got a cheap M1 carbine and another advocate friend, and you can go shoot an M1 carbine all the time. Just saying. Next up is Ashley Hablinski, was on Riding Shotgun with Charlie and Meet the Pressers new show. I don't know if they have a name for that show or if it's just their collaboration, but whatever. They collaborate once a week. They bring somebody on who's been a guest of their shows, and they bring them on together for like a supplementary or a continuation of the interview. And let's see, I actually haven't listened to this one, so I need to listen to this pretty much without fail. Every time I listen to Ashley, I learn something. She's done a lot and she's got a lot of insight. People ask her weird questions. At least they don't ask her the same questions ever. So I end up getting more and more insight from listening to Ashley on different interview shows. So that's one I haven't listened to, but I plan on it. Might listen to it after this. Let's see. I will take them as an information-based show. What are we talking about? Living in California, the 2A victories are few and far between. You've had some massive victories, though. Unfortunately, they were victories against massive infringements. So they didn't give you a gain. They just stopped you from being destroyed. I know it feels like you've been destroyed, but in the big picture, California is still standing after an attempt to ban all handguns. You know what I mean? Like an attempt to ban all assault weapons, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. They keep changing the definition, right? So I hear you. I mean, it's tough. It's easy for me to say it. Standing next door in Arizona, basically being able to do almost anything I want with enough money and time. But taken for what it's worth from this perspective and from my paying attention to history of 2A, California has done amazing things. It's just that you're in quicksand. Get rid of them La Brea tar pits or quit standing in them at least, and you'll make more headway. It's just that you're halfway sinking and you're doing incredible feats to not sink, but it's not quite treading water. If you don't do it, you're gonna sink. So, you got to keep doing it. It's just that it sucks that there's enough other fights out there, and then you've gone and pissed a bunch of people off being Californians. It's not my fault, but that's the way it is. People don't get all mad about it and go, oh, well, it sucks to be California then. But yeah, it's one of those things. You get to live in an awesome environment with just some of the coolest nature ever. Unfortunately, you have to do it with horrible gun laws and next door to some really weird people sometimes. But there's probably some really awesome people in California too. Anyway, we'll keep going. So next up is Crump. Crump actually did a couple of things this week, and I didn't put them all in here. So I forgot to put in I didn't really want to put in the chat, so I'm just going to mention it. But Crump focused on BWE's circumstances, where he had BWE had that's why can't I think of what that stands for? But the dude from BWE that's always in Crump's chats, his wife passed this week, and he's still dealing with that. But Crump, of course, when you have a group of people and their way to get together is online, he went online and offered, an opportunity for them to be distracted, to offer some condolences, to let the community say what they need to say in a situation like that. It's frustrating always. It's part of life, and it's something that we incorporate into our online stuff. And some people deal with it well, some people don't. And I thought they did it in a fairly decent way, all things being said. And it's sad that Crump is offering all sales from his store, Black Swan Tactical, go to the family. So if you're interested in doing something that can get some funds to the family and then send some stuff to you so that you have a chance to do an unboxing or an open the box and then mention the whole thing again, that's an opportunity. Or you can just straight throw some funds to the family with PayPal, which is always appreciated. Obviously, in a time of stress, the less you have to deal with is better. And financially is one of those things that people have to deal with. So I can tell you, having been the recipient in the past of people's attention, when a bunch of people throw $5 at a project, it's powerful, super powerful. And so it's a tool, it's a resource that we have as a community. And always when someone's dealing with stress and all that, and especially with that kind of scenario, a lot of people throwing $5 can eliminate so much and just give people motivation and faith. So if you're interested, check out Crump's videos. I'm sure people out there know. I'll have to find and put a link in here to VWE's PayPal. It was listed in Crump's description of the live show. All right, so in this one, though, he had talked about the shorter grace period coming from the ATF. He'd gotten some insight that the ATF was going to be coming out with new rules next month, and get ready. It's not going to end. The liberty requires eternal vigilance, and that isn't getting all upset every once in a while when they tell you to, but instead realizing that even with a black eye and a broken nose and loss of resource and difficulty, we still have to do what's important in light of what's urgent, right? I think I heard that the other day. I thought that was pretty good. Let's see. So next we get Washington Gun Law, an interesting new channel, another lawyer. Been watching recently, and their take on the new magazine capacities. This one was a live show that they did. It was interesting. And again, before all the conclusion to the Washington stuff, I believe this was from earlier in the week. And my insight back then for posting it in here was it was interesting to see yet another lawyer channel pop up due to bad gun law. So how many lawyer channels have we seen in the last 16 months come onto the scene based on the results of bad gun law? Is this going to be beneficial for the community overall? Or is this going to be, detrimental? Is it going to be a whittling or erosion, or is it going to be an addition and an accumulation in strength? Having lawyers on our side, or lawyers on the scene. I don't know if they're on our side, if they're on the scene, though, for sure. And I don't know if they're not on our side. I just don't know if they're on our side. They're lawyers, right? Let's see. Next up is ATF. This Guns and Gadgets ATF, or Jared is talking about basically that same thing. Russian, the 80% change, and this new director's pick. So kind of the same thing that Crump was talking about here. You've got somebody with 22,000 subs who writes for AmmoLand, and then you got somebody with 500,000 subscribers who's got a consistent focus on Second Amendment stuff, and both offering a heads up that we got something coming. Are we going to wait until it comes and then be like, oh, wow, they were right, or wow, now we're observing it happen? Or do we get ready? I just got done watching Tremors. There's that one scene where the one dude is digging a flagpole hole. So he had a nice hole going for a flagpole, but he had not yet inserted the flagpole into it. So it's basically a post hole in the ground. And then at one point, the underground giant worm thing was chasing after people based on sound. And the guy got the idea to drop a two-man saw, right? The old Chris cut saw down into the hole, the post hole, and bang on it, which created noise. And then that snake came over, an underground worm thing, and basically did itself in on that saw, right? So without being too gross about an underground worm in a movie, are we going to sit around waiting for that underground worm to just pop out of the ground and eat one of us and then complain and yell and scream, wish we had a bigger gun? Or are we going to be clever? Are we going to think about what post holes we already got and what alterations to existing saws we could make and how we could take those two seemingly in separate things and put them together to smack on them in such a way to end the problem that we've got? Come on, are we clever or are we useful idiots? All right, so we got two people who only pay attention to this stuff telling us something is coming. Are we waiting for GOA and SAF to tell us what happened, or are we getting ready? Are we waiting for a three-letter organization to step up and lead, which hasn't ever happened yet? Or are we going to just do something, right? Or is something going to happen? Somebody going to grab that saw, somebody going to smack on it, and then wait for that worm to come over, maybe yell and scream to make the worm come over? Come on. Tell me my tremor analogy ain't working. All right, next up is Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Was on with Clover Tack, and they were talking about, Clover or Charlie's thing. To be honest, I had a hard time listening to that one. I didn't listen to it live. I was doing stuff, and I'm glad I didn't, because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that was said in that one. So I don't agree with everything that happens on all these shows. This one had a lot of stuff in it that I would have been wondering if I should have made comments. I probably wouldn't have made comments live because I wouldn't have wanted to distract. But yeah, that's one that I don't agree with some of the points that they made on that show. I said it. All right, next up is Riding Shotgun with Charlie. This dude's on a lot of this list this week. What's up with that? What's up with Riding Shotgun with Charlie this week? So he has on Frank Tate this week in episode 140. He has on Carrie Ann Eclair, because I don't know how to say her last name. I'm just going to say Eclair, even though I'm sure that's somehow derogatory or mean or something. But Eau Claire, whatever. It was a good interview. So last week he had her on, and I didn't listen to it because I was doing other things. And I listened to it this week, and I'm glad I did because it was a good interview. Learned a couple of things from it. I dug it. This interview with Frank, I think I've heard of this guy before because he's ran for NRA, but never really paid too much attention. This was interesting, though. It turns out Frank works with Appleseed and with the new Reeves, what's it called? Reeves. Dang it, I can't think of the other one. Revere's Raiders, the other one, or something like that. So there was an Appleseed program that came along. Some guy in Shotgun News was like, you know what? We should be teaching the kids about history and guns. And then people said, yeah, we should. And then they started doing it. And then that was Appleseed. And then after a while, people were like, I got a problem with Appleseed. It's not good enough, or it's not doing it something right. So then they made Revere's Raiders, Paul Revere's Raiders, right? And then that was something else similar to Appleseed. And I don't know the whole story, but guess what? Charlie had the guy on there who knows all about that story. They didn't really talk about it too much, but now I know who to find out more about that story from, more about the details of that whole thing. So, yeah, did you know that there's an organization that's out there intentionally teaching kids about guns and American history? Period. That's it. Guns, how to shoot guns, marksmanship, long-range accuracy, operations, safety, right? I don't know about manual of arms, but everything else, guns, and then American history. Boom. That's the organization. Kind of like Scouts, kind of like 4-H, except it's called Appleseed, and it's guns and American history. Liberty. Eternal vigilance. It's part of it. All right, then we get, I was just listening to, oh, I didn't put it in here. I guess I intended to put it in here, but I was just listening to Echo's chat a little bit earlier. Echo, dude from Florida. I think he's moving, so he might not be doing shows for a bit, but dude from Florida hosts long format live discussions, conversations. He invites people in, and they talk about reloading often. But I've known Echo now for a long time. He used to hang out with Dead Horse quite a bit, and I haven't heard from Dead Horse in a bit, but a good friend from Utah. And he brought Echo onto the scene as a reloading enthusiast and live streamer, and they kind of passed the baton, it seems. And Echo's been continuing to run or host live long format conversations, sometimes focused on a caliber or a task, sometimes focused on a content creator or somebody in the reloading realm. But tonight, I think they were just chatting, kind of, I think they called it the Dark Side of the Moon or something, Bark at the Moon, I don't know. But something about the moon. And during the conversation, somebody dropped a link to this Google Drive. Somebody posted this Google Drive back in like 2014, and it has a lot of reloading manuals, PDF reloading manuals on there. So there's a link in the description here for anybody that might want a whole bunch of reloading manuals or a link to them. Put it in your favorites or download some of them. From what they were describing, there's a bunch of like old reloading manuals from the 50s, so you can see some of the old recipes and things for different reloads. All right, next up is Chop It Up. Santee TV does shows constantly. I don't focus on them enough, but there was one again this week that was I got a chance to check out live. Often she does a lot of shows, and they're either right when other people are doing them or when I'm not in front of the computer, so I don't get to see them live often. But or I guess not. I don't always get to see them live, split that way. But this one I did, and it was a good one again. And I like her shows. She's focused on 2A, but the folks that hang out in Santee's group or whatever are not gun people. They just got into guns, so they're just people that found guns as a common, whatever you call that, like common thing that they're interested in, common interest. Recently, I guess it's a recent common interest. And most all conversations I ever get into or been a part of over the years have been gun owners who have conversations. So our conversations are boring and the same all the time. So listening to new folks new gun owners have conversations about whatever weird things they have conversations about and then bring guns into them is interesting. So there's probably a million different ways to get into new gun owners listening to gun conversations. I guess I should say listen to new gun owners have gun conversations, but I enjoy Santee's of the ones I've experienced. Santee hosts a show she doesn't allow the show to go in some weird tangents. Maybe that's the way to say it. She keeps it on track without keeping it on any track. Is that the way to say it? Anyway, does a good job. Next up is Tactical Rifleman, new channel. I started listening to that dude after he was on, I think he was on Combat Story, one of the interview channels I listened to. He's a beret and does a YouTube channel, giant YouTube channel, 682,000 subs. So a bunch of people that like to listen to an old guy reminisce and do stuff. He's running around doing all kinds of stuff. It's cool to see these guys who are getting into the realm of content creator / activer. I don't know what to call it. He's not an activist, but he's out there doing active things, right? A lot of women watch Santee, I suppose, but I only see dudes on there half the time. Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know who half of the names are over there, if they're guys or girls, really. So Tactical Rifleman, I've been watching, and this stream in particular, gold nugget after gold nugget. First, it's just interesting listening to somebody who don't really care, having fun, and experience a whole bunch of people who, again, same way that Santee's audience is different than what I'm used to, than the typical YouTube over the last few years. That audience is quite a bit different as well. Good mix too, probably some YouTube, but mostly just old vets and stuff blabbing to each other, being, rowdy. So that part's interesting, but gold, like good stuff about optics and stuff. Like usually you gotta listen to some sales pitch, and basically you're gonna get a regurgitated sales pitch. So they went to SHOT Show, they got told, so what's so good about this next model of something or another, and then they got a coupon code or some kind of deal, so they get $5 every time somebody sells a scope or something. Now they're telling you about how great this scope is. Never used it before, barely put it on a gun, never got it dirty, never had to break 3 of them, just got the one, and it's awesome and it's so great. and now you're spending decent money on it. And Carl just goes in and like breaks down with like 4 or 5 on his desk there, some of the stuff about how optics work and why some of them are garbage. And he doesn't even care. It's cool. It's listening to somebody who just knows and don't care, doesn't have any skin in the game, doesn't care what you do either. So just breaks it down. So cool live stream. I don't know if they're always like that. This is the 124th one. I've listened to one. So I'm not going to go back and listen to him. They're not that interesting. He does a lot of drinking his coffee and farting around and just dinking around. He's new to having a live conversation with folks. Well, he's 124 shows into being new, but for those of us with thousands of episodes, that's new. So it's, I'm not interested in watching people evolve anymore, but it is interesting to watch his audience evolve over there. And, right now he's all into drinking coffee and stuff. So whatever. If I was more into coffee, maybe I'd care about that a little bit more. All right, so then Clover Tack over there did a video on the ammo collecting display tray that I made. Sent out a bunch of those 2 weeks ago to people who had grabbed stuff from the store. It was a way to say thanks and hopefully to get some pictures and some feedback. And Clover made a video about it and gave me some feedback. Well, in the video, I guess, but some feedback about how YouTube thought about it and whatnot. And what's this garbage? All right, garbage. And yeah, did a pretty cool vid. It's all fancy. And then there you go. Got some good pictures of it or whatnot. So that's a display. You can grab one of them over at, I guess I don't have a link up here, over at Gear Websites. So we have a store, and I should probably talk about it more, but we have a store and you can buy stuff at it. And that's pretty much the way that we keep our projects online and ideally growing again. But keep our projects online. And if you're interested in grab one of these collection trays, grab one. If you've got an R&L display and you buy one of our collection trays, maybe something interesting will happen. So definitely let us know in the when you go to the cart, or I guess when you buy something, there's going to be a little gray section, and that's where you can leave a note. So let us know if you already own an R&L display if you buy something from our Gear Website store. All right, so anyway, Clover did a cool video on that. Thanks always for that. It's always appreciated to see someone put some effort into one of our products, and also good to get some feedback on it. So I'm glad to see that it worked for different kinds of ammos, basically. All right, then we did an Ask Gun Questions. Clover was in there again. Tony joined us. Ask Gun Questions is a website that we built back in 2007. There's not much to it right now, just a place where you can ask a gun question. You don't have to leave any information or, we're not asking for nothing. Just leave your gun question and click submit. And then on Saturdays, we go live and we answer those questions. We usually invite Clover, Tony Simon, and Dan Todd. And that way we get a gun shop owner. We get somebody from New Jersey who's been a gun owner his whole life and a Marine. And then somebody from Texas, gun owner his whole life, me, gun owner my whole life, answering questions from all over the place. Like people ask them, well, I guess from all over, but about all different kinds of topics. So feel free to ask questions. On Saturdays, we answer them. This Saturday, we'll be doing that again, and I'll be focusing on CCW insurance or personal legal protection when you're carrying a firearm type of questions. Before I forget all that, and didn't do the show last week when I was gonna, so totally forgot about it doing it this week. So gotta get the Ask Questions or Ask Gun Questions version, and then if necessary, I'll definitely go live and do another CCW insurance one. There's going to be a series of videos going off for the next 8 weeks with insight into that time. Let's see. So then we do have a link down here to our video about the ammo collection tray. So the idea here is that if you got an ammo collection, how are you going to display it? Let's just pause real quick. Throw it in a drawer. That's what I do. Have it all standing up on a shelf. I've seen a lot of people do that. Problem is, if you want to move something or whatever, if they're all standing individually, it could be a hassle. If they all fall over, it's even more of a hassle, especially if they fall off. I have a bunch of them in belts, so I'm not complaining about that. I have a bunch of them in clips, stripper clips and things. I'm not complaining about that. Those work. The problem there is, on a stripper clip for sure, you can't see the head stamp. they're all in one little spot or whatever, but you can't see the head stamps. And the other problem is if you've got something in the middle, it's in the middle, period. You got to take them all off or whatever to get to that one. Belts are a little bit better because often you can see the head stamps even when they're in the belt, and almost always belts let you pull one out from the middle. Most belts are, well, all belts are either going to be disintegrating, so the individual links that fall apart like links of a chain or something, or a belt with just little slots in it or some kind of attachments for the rounds. And in those cases, you can definitely swap and shuffle around, cartridges in there. But the disintegrating links make it just about as easy to swap things around. You just pull the cartridge out, the link will fall out with it. Sometimes you got to pull the adjacent one off and put the link back together, but you can definitely rearrange easily with links. It's one of my favorite ways to display a collection. The problem is, what do you do with a link? It's all floppy and limpy. So nobody wants anything floppy or limpy around. And it's just difficult. You can kind of lean it up against stuff sometimes, or you can hang it from stuff, but then it's going to flop all around again. So what do you do? There's never been any solution ever to displaying a bunch of cartridges until now. And thanks to the magic of printing in 3 dimensions, they took this magazine drawing and turned it into 3 dimensions, drilled a bunch of holes in it. And look at that. You can have just as many ammos in your collection as you can afford to buy trays. And we sell trays all day, so you can just keep growing your ammo collection. Bigger and bigger and bigger. Best things in life. So yeah, you want to go buy one? There's a video tell you about it. You can go buy it over on our store. Then we make money. We say thanks. Or if you got a 3D printer and you want to try the challenge, it takes about 7 hours to print. Go grab the file over at Cults 3D, the social platform for 3D printing. And there's a link to it in the description of our video there. And you can grab the file and print it yourself. And then magically, just like if it was a Star Trek replicator, you'll have your own cartridge tray. All right, so we're going to zip around for a little bit. I didn't bother to change the poll up to ask about Instagram this week, but I could have, I suppose, but I'm going to go to Instagram anyway. However, I'm going to take a moment, let everybody grab something to drink. We're going to go over here and do a quick commercial for barbecue. This one dude who's constantly doing stuff for Second Amendment, focusing on people's projects and efforting to get the word out.
History proves to us that when a nation's citizens lose the right to keep and bear arms in their...
All right, I don't know what that was. This one. Not that I have a problem posting the DC Project one, it's just that it copyrights the show every time I do. They didn't use copyright-free music, I guess, when they did their commercial. All right, so next we're going to dig into a couple of other things. We mentioned the store, so I'll just take a second and throw a plug out there again for the store. I'll even drop a link. So if you're interested in purchasing something from our Gear website store, we do appreciate it. And anybody who purchases over $25 will get a copy of the one of those drafts of the maps of 2A if you want it. And anybody that's got an R&L displays, let me know when you purchase, and you'll get what's coming to you. All right, next up is Instagrams. So we'll dig right in. Go into Instagram. One of the things you can look at is people's saved files. Every week I go through, and as I'm finding things that are interesting, I save them. You can see we'll talk about that here in a second. All right, so now I'm trying to remember where we left off with last week. Well, this one says 6 days ago. I guess I can click to this. I guess not. Click to this. This one also says 6 days ago. 6 days. All right, so I guess we'll end with U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit, Specialist Allison Weiss. won the bronze medal in Egypt. So they were shooting in Egypt last week or back in February. And she won, I guess. All right, next up is S.A. Hinchcliffe posting about, well, I guess consequences after 578 passed. Unfortunately, now this is the getting experience in Washington State, how to deal with the after effects of bad legislation. Let's see. I don't know why I put this one in here. That one might have been a mistake. So we'll move on to this one, and this is the inside of a 737. Says, what was the last plane you were in? The light at the end of the 737 tunnel is the exit. The cockpit windows were covered for a film crew like a green screen. Okay, so basically they're looking downwards at this airplane and the window, or the door was open, they're saying, and the light was just shining in, so it looks all creepy. I don't know why I put that one in here, honestly. So I'm going to uncheck that one too. I really have no idea why I put that one in here. Maybe I was doing crack earlier in the week. All right, so next up, Alabama Senate approves permitless carry bill. Here are the details. So this was 2A. This is sec2a.org. I guess maybe that was one of the first ones I seen from, I don't know why I would have posted on that one. Next up is Pets for Vets. I posted this one because I wanted to potentially put these things into the calendar. So this is the listing for 4 events in 2022 called Operation Purple Healing Adventures. It says Operation Purple Healing Adventures welcomes wounded, ill, injured, medically separated, or medically retired military families to take part in uniquely designed resiliency building activities that help each family member's growth after a service member's injury. Please click below to see the camps available and to apply. I just thought, to help them get some reach, I would post those into some of the calendars out there. This was neat. This is Ed's Manifesto, one of the channels I follow. He's a Mexican police officer who's retired and now travels the United States doing counter custody, kind of like non-purpose, what do you call it? Like if somebody's going to kidnap you, how to like counter kidnapping or anti-kidnapping type of classes or anti-abduction type of classes. Interesting stuff and good information to know. Just like Stop the Bleed, information to know that you can get out there to other people who might need it if you don't need it. And this is a picture that Ed posted standing in front of one of the displays at the J.M. Davis Firearms Museum, which is the best firearms museum, period, in Claremore, just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this is the display, one of the displays of confiscated weapons. So non-NFA or NFA, like firearms that are that should be on the NFA, like modified firearms that are illegal under the NFA, and just a whole bunch of other things like clubs and whatnot. So interesting, and Ed's all into that stuff, so he must have been going through there, and somebody recommended for him to go to that museum, and then he got a picture of that display. Next up is Guardian Lounge, or Guardian Long Range. Guardian Long Range is a cool organization. It's a long-range shooting. It's not a sport. It's an organization. It's an event that happens 4 or 5 times a year usually. And in this case, it's some information that they posted about how to use the Instagram. And I usually mention this when I dug in here, but I knew I had this post in here, so I didn't bother. But you've got a couple of different mechanisms on the Instagram platform to use the platform and to interact with it, to participate in it, right? To be part of the machinery and not just a mechanism. So you got the heart, like it says, costs nothing. Might as well heart stuff that you like. The little mouth thingy or the little speech bubble says gives us motivation. That's leaving a comment or whatever. Using the little paper airplane thing introduces our page to others or introduces other people to the page. And then this last one, this little chevron thing, is helping with engagement. And that's what we're attempting to do, is looking at the ones that we've clicked the little chevron thing on. So thanks to Guardian for summarizing that. This thing goes around, and when you see it, I encourage you to ship it around, because it is the 4 pieces to the logarithm of Instagram. It's the 4 little Tetris blocks that make Instagram work. And if you know how it works, you can make Instagram work best for people that you care about, right? Or make the machine work best when you want it to. All right, this one was pretty neat, from Stephen Holbrook, a researcher and author. It says, regarding the importance of women being armed in unsettled territories, quote, she can milk cows, mend a wire fence, wash dishes, throw a diamond hitch, sew a dress, and braid a good rope. Any top hand would want to throw. And she has to know how to shoot while doing all those things. Otherwise, she runs the risk of being killed. And that was a quote from the Washington Post in 1896. And then that's a female cattle rancher from Colorado in 1890. What kind of revolver is this? You can tell it's a black powder because of the lever underneath of the deal. But can you tell further from that what brand or what style? And then she's got a pump shotgun there. Oops. And then it's some kind of leather setup. Kind of leather coat, probably buffalo coat. All right. Then you get gun policy, FPC, posting about Washington state legislature okays limits on sale of high-capacity magazines. And then they show AR with 2 magazines backwards. How cool is that? In this file photo, Stag Arms rifle with 30 and blah, blah, blah. Stupid idiots. All right, so, yep. Got that post. I mean, we all know it's coming. But this one's pretty good from Taylor Defense. This is something from, I believe, back in the voting thing when they were putting up those pictures in front of the voting thing or something. And then in this case, they're using the meme technology to get across a bunch of information about the situation and how they're using news of the day and the people's tendency to observe rather than act, to overwhelm and manipulate, right? To use mechanisms. This one is from the Philosopher also. This one I did intend to put in here. I just thought that this one was interesting. It says such an accurate encapsulation of government schools. And it is. I saw this one. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So anyway, memes work sometimes. Sometimes they don't. Let us know what you think. Let's see. Next we get Beth Alcazar from USCCA from Alabama, now as constitutional carry, posting a class from USCCA. And I believe, if I am correct, this is training instructors. So this isn't just a bunch of ladies who are learning how to shoot guns. These are a bunch of ladies who are learning how to teach other people how to shoot guns. So this is the instructor type of class, and we're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 new instructors. They all happen to be female. And I love it. That's, when you think of all these new gun owners, all those new gun owners aren't just going to Clint Smith's classes. They're going to whoever's in front of them classes, probably, if they go to any class at all, or they're going to who is recommended to them. So these new instructors are going to be the new introduction to firearms for all them new firearms owners that decide to take classes. And this is Gun Owners America, guy from Minuteman Moment, looking unimpressed as some kind of senator probably, or so whoever this guy is. Michael Cloud, representative, is talking about the billion 4473s and how they've been optically scanned and able to be searched. And it's just I don't know. Be curious. If this was a live conversation, I'd run this because it's like a 20-second thing that just repeats in a loop. Be curious to see what people think about the point here, what they're trying to do. So Gun Owners America, most popular Second Amendment organization as far as I can tell. And what they're offering is a 20-second looping video that I'm wondering what it accomplishes. All right, next we get Gun Freedom Radio posting a clip that went around a couple of times. I'm going to let it go here, and then I'll turn the volume up towards the end, because the beginning is this where does it say? Miss Lauren Liberty is here talking, and she's talking about being a victim and how this here, listen to this.
I don't need to carry my gun on me at all times to feel safe. I don't walk around, run around, and drive around worried about somebody's going to shoot me, or somebody's going to hurt me, or somebody's going to do whatever. Why even walk around at that point? Stay home behind closed doors. So, I mean, I do understand that, yeah, it is a right that we have, but some people just don't have that right, and some people just shouldn't have that right. And with that, I vote no.
Wow, you hear that? Some people shouldn't have that right, and some people don't need that right. And he's saying that to a lady who's talking about being a victim, and crazy. So that's going around. That's on quite a few things. I guess that happened. It's testimony to the Arizona Senate Judiciary Committee on the 3rd. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but he basically was an a-hole. All right, so next up is Connecticut Citizens Defense League. Ooh, had to yawn. Connecticut Citizens Defense League is thanking the FFL's instructors, shops, and gun clubs working to spread the message about the legislative testimony that's available on Monday. So they're also encouraging people to submit testimony by 3 p.m. on Sunday, and then there's a link here where you can be part of that. So if you know people in Connecticut or people that might have interest or focus on Connecticut, then this is the time to act. They've got some pretty heinous stuff happening there. There's a couple of live shows that we talked about earlier that get into the details of what's happening there, but it's a very long 32-part anti-gun thing that's just horrendous with lots and lots of infringements in it. Just bad idea versus, on top of bad idea. They have opportunity on Monday to offer testimony. So the Connecticut Citizens Defense League is creating opportunity for anyone who's able or interested to record testimony to do so before Sunday at 3 p.m. So now, between now and Sunday at 3 p.m., you can use these links on their posts to, and I think they do most of this on Facebook. You can use their help assistance tools to create or to record some testimony that they will, I believe, help facilitate or help get to the legislation on Monday. That'll be one to watch. Obviously, the people in Connecticut are going to have a more, a more opinion about it and see bigger reach of it. Everybody outside of the state is going to have different opinions on how important or how consequential it'll be. We're watching it happen, or we're not watching it happen, right? There's a lot of attention out there on the other things, the other states, the wins, the Alabamas, the potentials, the Ohios, and the whatever. But we've also got Washington and a bunch of butthurt over there, a bunch of sore licking, right? And putting stakes on the black guys. Oops. And what are we going to do? Are we going to be the ones that every time we get a black eye, we stop fighting? Every time we get a black eye, we're going to we're not going to get out of the way of the next punch. So got to get used to dealing with all this and, and getting used to getting punched a couple of different times while we're up to our neck in hot water and we're getting yelled at by the neighbor people or something, right? Got to get used to more stressors than one, and being more resistant to stressors so that we can fight through some of this. Be, again, aware of the important over the urgent. I don't know if that's always important or if that's always the priority, but we can't lose sight of the important over the urgent, especially when the urgent isn't something that is created. It's something that's placed in front of us. All right, next up, a little bit off topic, but on topic and maybe even more to the point is this is from the gun store in Las Vegas, which is a pretty cool place if you haven't been to Las Vegas before. When you get to Las Vegas, most people are talking about the Strip. The Strip goes north and south, kind of, and there's a East and West Street that kind of gets you from the airport over to the Strip, right? And on that East and West Street, you come north out of the airport and you jump onto this East and West Street. Normally you're going to take a left and you're going to go west over to the Strip, and then you're going to take a right and then go north onto the Strip, and you're going to go do your stuff in Vegas. However, if you came out of the airport and took a right and only went like a block or two, you'd get to the gun store. And it's an old gun shop that has grown over the years into a bigger gun shop, and now a gun shop with a big giant rental range behind it. Like what used to be an old back parking lot is now a big giant rental range. And you can rent machine guns and do recreational shooting of machine guns in Vegas, just like a lot of the other new kind of places that popped up over the years. However, the gun store is from like the olden days. It's the second oldest gun store still existing in Vegas, from what I understand. So they've been there as long as I've been going to Vegas, since the early 90s. The early 90s. And just a cool shop. And it's been neat to watch it grow over the years. I follow them on Instagram. I follow some of the people that work there and stuff that, just have a good time living in Vegas and enjoying life and stuff. So unlike something you may not know, some gun shops encourage people to show up at the gun shop with food. Some of them have their own restaurants or are affiliated with restaurants. In this case, this is something unusual, a little unusual. They don't do this often, or at least I haven't seen them do it before. But it's something that other gun shops do on a fairly regular basis. Some of them do it more regular than others, or more often than others. But what we're talking about is having a food truck show up at the gun shop in the parking lot, probably for like most of the day. And they're going to be serving, I guess pretty much all the time. They're going to be parking there. So that's kind of interesting. They're going to be there from 9 a.m. on Mondays, and then on 7:30 on Saturday. So maybe 2 days of the week they're going to be there. Sounds pretty interesting. So every Monday and Saturday, they're going to be there for the entire day if they're starting at 9:30 and 7:30. It's pretty cool. So you think about Vegas, especially in the summer or when the heat is on. If somebody shows up and wants to go shooting or do a couple of things in a day, they might get an early start. And this would give them a chance to get to the place, get some Hawaiian food for breakfast, and then dig into their adventures for the day. Or if you just work there or something and you want to get some Hawaiian breakfast food, then you got a food truck right there by a cool gun shop right off of Tropicana. So what's the deal? I don't know what Hawaiian breakfast food would be. I mean, I can guess what one ingredient is, but anyway, I think that's neat that the gun store is doing it, because I haven't seen them do it before. Now that I'm reading it, to see that they're doing it on a regular basis, pretty cool. But it's also just to let people know, if you don't know already, that other shops are doing it. And it's something, maybe drop that suggestion to a shop in your neighborhood. Might help the shop out. The shops that I know do it because it helps everybody. The food truck makes money, the customers dig it, and the gun shop makes more money. So unless there's some reason not to do it, zoning or some issue or something, then whatever. But if it's something that can help shops out, food trucks are cool, and eating is cool, and gun shops are cool. So seems like a win-win-win. Scratch that auto itch. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know about prices. That's one thing I have not done. Whenever I went in 2014 and did a tour of all the rental places, and then since then I try to go back they change owners, and I don't go frequent enough that they don't remember me or anything. Wait, I don't think any of one of them, two of them maybe remember me, but all the other ones don't. And that's only because I've kept up with people on Instagram or whatever. But I do go to the places whenever I can when I'm there, and just kind of see how they're evolving and stuff. And like I say, the gun store is one that's grown a lot over the years. So it's neat to see this one. So we'll go on to this. I think the last one. I thought this was an interesting juxtaposition, or whatever that word would be. Like, here's the gun shop in Vegas talking about having Hawaiian food at a food truck, and that's pretty much what it looks like right now. Sorry to be a jerk, but it's nice out right now. This is the kind of time you want to live out here. It's like 80 during the day and it's like 50 at night. So this is the kind of time you'd want to go to Vegas and hang out at a food truck. And then here's Tulsa. So here's Tulsa, Oklahoma, Sports World. Pretty cool shop. They used to have a big yellow safe just to the left of where this picture is. And it looks like, I don't think they're snowed out, but yeah, they've got snow. I guess they don't have that big yellow safe no more. I didn't know they were that close to a Home Depot. So I have visited this one before. It's a pretty neat shop, and I've been following them on Instagram since. I think they support Snob. I think this is the one that is Snob's, one of Snob's channel sponsors. Or I don't know if they sponsor, but they support the channel type of thing. And then lastly, Georgia permitless carry moves on to the Senate. So we knew this already, but they posted it just recently, so I figured I'd post it as an update. But yeah, got 4 states that were on the move. One, Alabama, has made the move and now has constitutional carry. Boom, this one. And the other 3, are still moving. They're still positioning. And what was that? That was talking about how Georgia moved past the committee and is now on. All right, so with that, we're done with Instagram, and now we're adding a whole new part of the show because a couple of reasons. One, I don't like just focusing on YouTube or just Instagram, because Instagram's neat and YouTube's fine, but they're definitely not the only things that are out there, right? Just like, hold on, I gotta drink something. So we're gonna have a commercial. G23 just said, hey, so why don't we do a quick commercial for, this is a super quick commercial. It's the fastest commercial. This is the first commercial I ever did, fastest commercial I ever made. I did that the first time I ever seen how to work After Effects. And actually, ironically, or maybe coincidentally, maybe, earlier today, I was watching some After Effects video while I was eating lunch. So learning how to do more things with After Effects. Now I know how to make something in After Effects that's longer than like 4 seconds. Georgia passed out of Senate on the way to the governor. Thank you. So let's see. So we're going to a new realm. A couple of new things, actually. First off, we're having a tactical quiz. So is anybody out there interested in being part of a tactical quiz? Anybody awake? If you're interested in being part of a tactical quiz, start chatting over here. Tactical quizzes. We're talking a real tactical quiz is happening right now. All right, so let's see. Why don't we head over to this one first, and then we'll go over to the tactical quiz part. So far, we've got one person, I believe, who's interested in being part of a tactical quiz. So this is interesting. I went to this, I was farting around on the internet, doing my business, and I found this infographic. So this is deaths in the 20th century. I believe that means we have 2 people. Oh, if I said count off, that's exactly what you're doing. So yeah, and now everybody has to just count off. And then that'll be your rank. That'll be your number in the tactical quiz, potentially. So this is interesting. So if you look at how people die, it breaks down to be non-communicable disease, infection, cancer, or some like human reason, right? And then you got health complications, which I guess is another separate thing, but it's smaller. So if you zoom in, your health complications are things like, I can't read them, perennial conditions, whatever that means. And then your non-communicable diseases break down to heart disease, respiratory disease, digestive illness, right? And in that ratio, so a lot more cardiovascular, we die from our hearts more than our lungs and way more than our guts, right? But all together, they make up this big a number, which is the biggest number, diseases from inside of ourselves. Then you get diseases from outside of ourselves, which is almost as big, but that's things like smallpox, malaria, trichinosis, measles, all these different diseases, right? And the biggest one is a respiratory disease, and then smallpox, and then malaria, which is interesting. And I'll bet you if you watch this little piece of it all over time, that would be really cool, because this is all the things that medicine, oh, we got 3 people involved now. Thank you. This is all the stuff that medicine has solved, right? Is cured. This has probably been attacked by medicine, but this is people's decisions. This, you don't really make a decision on if you're going to get smallpox, ideally, right? Anyway, then you get cancer. It's about this big. So I find this infographic, this visualization interesting in so many ways. First, infectious and communicable diseases I knew were big, but seeing this compared to the human reasons is interesting, right? Now let's look at what the human reasons are. So we got cancer, we got infections, we got non-communicable, just dying, and then you've got humanity. So humanity's got accidents and murder and war, drugs, air pollution, and ideology, right? So ideology is a chunk, and I can't tell what that is, but it's probably dumb stuff, right? And then you get murder, which is murder, air pollution, which is the environment or whatever. And then you get war, which is war. And then you get accidents, which breaks down into all these different things. And then drugs. And what is this? Two-back? I don't know why it would say two-back. So whatever. So this is saying that of all the things that people do to each other, war is only that big, but infectious diseases is this big. War is about the same as measles. Like all war in the 20th century has killed about the same number of people as measles. But really, respiratory illness has killed, cardiovascular disease is what kills pretty much everybody. That's just getting old, right? That's just getting old and having a broken heart because your grandkids start shooting 9mm or something horrible. But I just think this is super neat to take a look at and to visualize when they want to talk about some issue, where it is on the grand scheme of things, and how to think about how we're spending our resources. Like how much resources are we spending on war versus heart disease? So anyway, it's just interesting. This is also a snapshot. When you put time involved in this, it would be super neat, super neat to see these bubbles get bigger and smaller and kind of pop up and disappear over time. I don't think a human would be able to understand it all, but a robot would. But a human could do some kind of a cool thing. Let me click on this again, where you zoom in, blah, 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 zoom out, come in over here and like blah, blah, blah about this little thing over here, and, do some sort of a good version of an animation where you paid attention to all these little factors and features and stuff. But anyway, it's pretty neat, right? So with that in mind, what I've got over here is another one. I'm only going to flip to it so that y'all don't cheat, because there's at least 3 people participating in the tactical quiz right now. So what this is I'm going to go zoom in a little bit if I can. This is what 1,000,000 lines of code looks like, right? So in this graph, and I'm going to zoom back out just so you can get a perspective on it, right? It's going to get pretty big down here, okay? But now I zoom back in over here. 1,000,000 lines of code, 18,000 pages of printed text is that unit right there. And according to this Ulysses, Catcher in the Rye or whatever, right? That's like that little gray section there. This video game system is this section. This bacteria is that big in whatever, like what I'm guessing if you were to print out its DNA or something. Age of Empires Online must be some game, right? And then they start talking about like this fighter jet is that much bigger. The first Linux kernel is that much bigger. The programming inside the Hubble Space Telescope is that much bigger. The first version of Windows is that much bigger, right? So with that in mind, I had a couple of questions. If you're with me, who's with me? I have to go over here and actually go look again, so I didn't memorize nothing. So which is going to be bigger on this? Let me just, can I zoom? Oh, I know what to do. Hold on, I know exactly what to do. You can see it over here without the stuff. See that? See how big they get? So, you know, down here was stuff like the video game or whatever, like an F-22 fighter jet was this black one here at 1.7. You know, they start to get really big. And somewhere in here is like a Boeing 787 airplane. We get into different kinds of software, and then we get into bigger and bigger automated brains, let's say. So are you with me? You see how the different colors represent a different number of data, like a more like levels of complexity, I guess is the way that this is actually showing on this graph. Actually, this works out pretty good. So I don't know if anybody's with me still, because I am taking it in a little bit different tangent here than 2A, but I think this is interesting. Let me see if it works for the thing. So which is bigger, a U.S. military drone control software or the first version of Photoshop? So is the software that we put into a U.S. military drone bigger, or was Photoshop CS6 the first version of Photoshop back from like the 90s? Anyone? Anyone? So that's the kind of question we're asking here. Now here's the trick answer to that one. They're basically the same size. So the same size Photoshop, the first one from the 90s, and the control software for a U.S. military drone today. I thought that was kind of interesting. That's not the only one we're going to do here, but that's sort of to get you going. So what's bigger? What's in the Mars rover, the robot working on Mars, the ground vehicle, the probe, right, that goes around in Mars, or I don't think you can see the other side of this, or that F-22 Raptor jet. So what's got a bigger, more intelligence, whatever, bigger complexity? The F-22 Raptor jet or the Mars Curiosity rover? Little rover driving around, basically a remote control car, driving around on Mars, hanging out. F-22 Raptor can shoot over the horizon, nail a basketball being dribbled by a bad guy on the other side of the horizon. One of them is 1.7. The other one is 5. So they're nowhere close. One of them is 1.7. The other one is more than twice as big. Right? Everybody said, well, G23 said Raptor, and he's wrong, not the Raptor. Or was that an answer to the other one? So anyway, it's the rover. So it was the rover is the 5. So now what's bigger, the rover or so that rover was at 5. What's bigger, the rover or a Boeing 787? Where's it at? This is the rover at 5. Is the Boeing 787 less or more or less? So you're saying that the Rover is bigger? Wait, how did I ask that question? Dang it. I should have done this as a poll. Which is bigger, the Rover or the 787? Right? Some people are saying the Rover, I think. So the Rover is at 5. The 787 is at 14. 14. So the 787 is way bigger than the Rover. And then if the Rover, or I mean, if the 787 is at 14, where is the F-35 fighter jet? So the F-22 Raptor is the stealth fighter, right? And the F-35 is a fighter jet from 2013. If the Boeing 787 is at 14, where's that F-35 jet fighter? The F-35 is at 24, so it's already twice as big as the 787. And then if I were to stretch this bad daddy, stretch this thing way out, bring it over like this. So that's that F-35 at 24. This is the Hadron Collider, right? Every single piece of code for the Hadron Particle Collider or whatever is this black one at 50. And then this at 100 is the average high-end car. Modern high-end car has 100%, twice the complexity, twice the code involved from the Hadron Collider, particle collider. And an F-35 fighter jet has 24 compared to 100 in cars. Now this purple thing at 120 is a mouse. So that's like the total DNA, what do they call them, base pairs in the genome of a mouse. So that bacteria down here, this was like the DNA genome or whatever written out of a bacteria was 1.2. If like a million lines of code, 18,000 pages of text, a book is 1. A bacteria, you can write out its code in like 1.2. And this 100 is car software. So your fancy cars that you're driving around, that's how much computing power is in them. And then barely a little bit more is the genetics of a mouse. So with all that said, what do you think this green one is? Pretty obvious, I guess. So for some of these others, this is the Mac Tiger OS, this giant blue thing. This is this one of these blue ones is the future U.S. Army Future Combat System, which is like the whole like 3D headsets, I believe. This other blue one is all of Facebook. This green one is Microsoft Visual Studio, whatever the hell that is. This red one is Vista, Windows Vista. This is Microsoft Office 2013. This is Microsoft Office XP, Microsoft Office 7. This is the fighter jet, quite a bit less complex than Windows. This is Linux. This blue one, I think. Actually, I can just move this over at this point. There's Linux. So the stuff that's running the internet, stuff that's running our phones is in this realm, about like 1990 software. This is devices. The rover is basically like a little device. The Boeing 787 is basically just a device. The military drone is basically a watch. It's not doing anything. The Raptor is like a freaking LCD digital watch. I can't even believe it flies. That's nothing. Like, that's probably because it's hardwired. Pretty neat. And then, as I say, if you get up, what do you think this green thing is? That's Google. That's the scale of Google compared to all this other stuff. But Google's on your side. It's not trying to harm you. It's good. It's okay. It's all good. So anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. I found those. Shouldn't be looking at that. We shouldn't be looking at that yet. All right. So those are some neat things I've seen when I was looking up visualization type of things. And then I found this. So I'm going to put a link to it. Although I'm not endorsing this. I just found it today, right? I'm not endorsing it. It might be weird. It might even be communist. I don't know. But it might be the best thing you've ever found. I don't know. I'm going to find out. It gave me some feedback on it. I'm not going to link to it. I'll just put the link in there and you can find it if you want. But the idea of it is to offer good news instead of bad news all the damn time, right? So it's some interesting stuff. So first off, it's an effort in displaying the news in a visually pleasant way. And I would definitely be interested in hearing from folks who are differently able as far as their vision to give us some insight in how your readers interact with this informationisbeautiful.net site if you decide to go there. Because I'm wondering if they're only paying attention to visual or if they're also investing in some code that's more stimulating to the folks who are having this translated by readers, visual readers, right? So let's take a look at some of the stories in this Beautiful News Daily project. Africa's longest war is over. Ethiopia and, I don't even know how to say this, Eritrea? I don't know. Eritrea? I don't know how to say that other country. Make peace after decades of conflict. I didn't even know they were at war because that's not ever on the news. African Union allows visa-free travel between 55 countries. I didn't know there was an African Union. Let's see. Fewer children are dying. There's a graphic here from the 1820s to the 2020. It's pretty stunning how few children are dying compared to, I don't know, when my grandparents were born in the early 1900s. They were at the beginning of a almost exponential curve downward, but we live in an awesome time. Here's leprosy, right? There was some other interesting one here. South Africa is defending its rhinoceroses. So the number of rhinoceroses killed by poachers over the last 4 years is down by 50% from 1,000 in 2015 to 500 in 2019. Oops. Now, of course, some of that might be BS. I don't know how many rhinoceroses there are. So, but if this is fake good news, then that's bullshit. But if it's real good news, then I dig it. Let's see. So there was a couple of other ones I thought as I screwed, unless they changed these, there was some other interesting ones. Armies everywhere are shrinking. And I've seen some other visualizations of data like this before. Some of the stuff about wars and stuff where kind of show the consequences of war and how that is diminished over time. Natural disasters are far less deadly. Some visualizations of the number of people that are victims, and then how often they're happening. So that's interesting. So it's definitely got some. They're trying to push some agendas there, right? Eritrea. Oh, is that the name of that country? I think it does show me different one. Oh no, I just didn't scroll down enough. So I thought this was probably the first one I saw over here that really got me caught on it, because so many people hate solar, and that's because at first glance solar's stupid or whatever, or not solar, wind, the giant fans that they set up to blow air around. And yeah, it makes no sense. Why are you going to have a whole bunch of fans set up just to blow air around? I mean, it costs a lot of money to leave all them fans running. But one of the things you can do when you got all that free wind energy is you take a train full of concrete and you shove it up a hill, right, with your free electric power. And then when you don't have your free electric power, you let that train fall back down the hill with them brakes that regenerate energy. And now you've taken your energy from the daytime, your excess energy from the daytime, and turned it into kinetic energy, which can then be transferred into blah, 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 science. So anyway, I thought that was neat. I've heard of water being done, some things with water, which I still think is another way to go. But this is the kind of stuff that gets people going, oh, wait a minute. And look, there's all these other ways, compressing air, doing some exothermal, some flywheels. There's other strategies to harnessing energy at a time when it's available and using it later, right? Besides batteries, besides the harnessing of potential energy or potential charge or whatever that would be, right? Anyway, I just thought that part was interesting. So that's what got me sparked around to looking at some of these other things. Let's see. And stuff like, well, a lot of this is Africa. I don't know if it's just because I'm poking or I'm seeing the Africa ones or if it's overly focused on African ones, but I don't know. Maybe it's just a lot of stuff in Africa is good news and no one's focusing on it. Let's see. So then we get this one I thought was neat about oat milk. So it says soy milk so good. I don't like soy milk, but I do like oat milk. If you haven't tried oat milk, give it a shot. Oat is naturally renewable, right? You just grow oats anytime you want them. They make them for oatmeal or whatever. But look at the water. That's my thing. Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You got three issues when you're talking about your food. It either it does something when it's growing. It has to grow somewhere, and they all need water. And you can do things that use a shit ton of water. And think about that. Does that water just come out of nowhere like rainwater naturally goes into a cow? Or does that get processed by a bunch of infrastructure that's vulnerable and costs a lot of money? So you can make decisions that cost your infrastructure a shit ton of money and stress and create choke points and create commodities issues. Or you can do things that are not that different, that are like inconsequentially different, and strategically give us a lot more potential when you think about how much stuff costs. So seeing little infographics like this make it easier for me to explain a decision like that. But you can do whatever an industry tells you to do, right? You eat what an industry tells you to eat. I don't get in your way. And now, what we've all been waiting for, the one that definitely cooked me on this stupid website right here. There's a fourth type of chocolate. How many people knew this? How many people knew about a fourth type of chocolate? There has always been dark chocolate, and then there was milk chocolate, and then there was white chocolate, which isn't really chocolate, but whatever. There's now ruby chocolate. Who knew about this ruby chocolate? So I went over to Amazon and I found it. I'm going to drop a link over here. If you buy it off of this link, I get a cut. It'll cost you $8 for 2 candy bars, so it's a rip-off expensive. But here's the deal. Let me talk about it over here. Here's what it says. Ruby chocolate invented in 2017 by Belgian Swiss. That there's only 2 types of chocolate ever, Belgian and Swiss. So this one is like a melding of the 2 chocolates. Confectioner, some guy, made from unfermented cocoa beans. I guess that means other chocolate is made from fermented chocolate beans or cocoa beans. So the exact process is a trade secret, but the result is a sweet yet sour taste. Milkier than dark chocolate, fruitier than milk chocolate, and even sweeter than white chocolate. Nobody likes white chocolate, so who cares? But it's a different kind of chocolate. Evidently, it's a little bit pink, and you can get it off of Amazon. So I haven't gotten any yet, but I just learned about it. So anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. I didn't know there was a new kind of chocolate. How cool is that to learn about a new type of chocolate? Yeah, seriously. Unless it's fake. I've read the reviews on Amazon. If you go to Amazon for this $8.70 free shipping thing of chocolates, it'll say things like good quality and it's worth it for the novelty. If you're expecting a life-changing experience, I'd put your money elsewhere. Tastes like white chocolate with raspberry powder in it. Kind of tart, kind of fruity, mildly chocolatey, not bad. But you can get more indulgent treats for the same price. Glad I tried it though. So it's not like you're going to change the way you eat chocolate, but it's technically a new way of making chocolate. And it's chocolate. So there you can also find way more expensive ones. So if you want to go buy way more expensive ones off of Amazon, please use that link and then go buy whatever expensive things you want. And I get a cut of whatever expensive things you might buy. So much appreciated. So I thought that was pretty neat. A new type of chocolate. Let's see. Then I just found a couple of other ones. I'm trying to think if there was any other ones that were all that interesting. European teens drinking less alcohol. Male and female literacy rates have almost equalized. I don't know why that's good, but basically looks like male literacy rates have gone from 90% to 77%, while female have gone from 61 to 83 between, or no, wait. Okay, no, this is a horrible, horrible data set. All right, this is wrong. We started out in 1976 with male literacy being at 77 and female being at 61. Is it because they're lazy or they didn't feel like reading? We don't know, because that was back a long time ago. But now we know that in 2017, 83% of ladies have figured out how to read, except 90% of dudes figured out how to read. So yeah, they almost caught up with us. So there you go. Wait, girls can read now more than they could back in the day. Now, I looked on here for guns. It's a good question. Is there any firearm stuff on here? That is one of the things that I was curious about too. So I went up here and I typed in gun. Oh, snap. No, I typed it in another site, I guess. So here we go. Let's see. Boom. So we got Australia homicide rate has never been lower. Okay. So I don't know why that came up. And now I'll try firearm. This person who created this place also created another place. And I looked at that place and searched for firearms and guns and didn't find them. And that didn't help me because I didn't think this is supposed to be about news. And if they don't got gun in here at all, then they're definitely not pro-gun, right? They're definitely not pro-gun. They may not be, they're probably anti-gun, but I'm just assuming, I guess. But they're definitely not pro-gun. If they were truly trying to be good news, then they would attempt to remove the falsehoods and the misunderstandings, right? They would attempt to clear things up, and they can't have nothing about guns if they're trying to clear things up. There's too many, can intentionally distractive things about guns, whatever that word is. Anyway, U.S. smoking rates are at the lowest ever. It's interesting. I heard a conversation the other day between two people, and they were like, and this person still smokes. And I was like, wow. Like, I've quit smoking a while ago, but I've quit smoking probably 3 times in my life. I have no intention of smoking again. But I understand, I'm not like, I understand that there's not a black and white there, that you can smoke occasionally, right? You can, some people, whatever, can't smoke at all because they got a tendency to go all or nothing. Other people, whatever, can only smoke 2 cigarettes and get cancer from it. Like, there's a spectrum, right? But in general, I think just because of cost and the perception that there's no benefit from smoking other than like fidgeting and enjoying the moment or two of like what I can't imagine too many people. Cigarette. I don't think too many people are getting a rush from a cigarette. I think it maybe, if anything, it's more of like a calming down type of a situation, if that even applies anymore. I really don't remember. But and it applies to everybody differently. But either way, you're paying money to eventually pay. You're paying money to smoke now to eventually pay for some kind of medical bills. So most people know that there's some sort of medical consequence, and they think they quit smoking because of that, if not because cigarettes just cost so dang much. But yeah, I never really thought about it. But yeah, definitely, because I know so many people that do smoke. Listening to someone who doesn't know anybody that smokes talk about smokers is like listening to, I don't know, somebody that has never ridden a horse before talk about horseback riders. You know, it's like they're, what? Those people exist? Like they're still horses? What? You know, it's just, I never thought about that because I know so many people that still smoke. So I guess everybody I know is in this 16%. Or at least a lot of people I know are in that 16%. South Korea is solving its food waste problem. South Koreans generate a huge volume of food waste. It's either bigger than Europe and North America. Ban on dumping food in a landfill. Compulsory food recycling. Average monthly bag cost per family funds most of the scheme. Results: food waste recycled in 1995 was only 2 little red dots, and in 2019 it was almost all the red dots. That's beautiful. I think food waste is stupid. Like, everybody could compost food or give food to like the neighborhood person with a dog, or not a dog, but like a pig or a, do chickens eat food waste? Chickens eat pretty much anything, right? Oh snap, G23 smoking right now. I can't remember. I was trying to think about it the other day when I quit smoking. It was either 2 or 3 years ago now. Somebody might remember. I think I was smoking during gun channels still. I just got sick of paying for them. And at some point I was like, I'll just bum them off of people. And then I'm like, I don't really want to bum off people. Now, the last time I tried to smoke, I almost got sick off of it. So I've been not smoking long enough that nicotine don't agree with me no more, or whatever it is about a cigarette. You know, I felt like a little kid or something. I mean, I literally had to sit down. I was gonna fall over. I got all dizzy. Let's see. Key electronic pieces to be easier to repair. That's interesting. All right, well, I'm not going to keep looking at this. I'm pretty certain now that I'm looking at it that it's probably about 90% hippie. Weird European hippie. That's worse than regular hippie. Like, I don't mind regular hippie, normal, dirty hippie, but European hippie, they're weird and they're metric and they're all clean. They're not a normal hippie. So we'll quit looking at this website already. What I did learn that's good for everybody is there's a new kind of chocolate. You're welcome. Mr. Knives ain't here, so I kind of feel bad. I was hoping he would show up tonight for that. But there we go. All right. So we're pretty much done. I'm pretty sure I just plain corked Gizzard, who's always after corking me, but that's his problem for after corking me. Appreciate everybody that showed up and stuck around live. Woods is getting all kinds of free stuff because he bought something from the Gear website store earlier. And like I say, I'll be sending you that one of the copies of the 2A, the maps of 2A drafts. So you got a bunch of those to basically an investment, future investment. It'll be worth millions in the future when I NFT all that stuff. So thanks for supporting the projects. Thanks for everybody who voted. We got 19 votes over there. It looks like 58% of them was for that this was a great week. You know, it's probably a lot of people in Louisiana. That's the way I say it. A lot of people who weren't in Washington State. But I think it was a good week for 2A. I don't know about a great week. It was definitely a good week. I do think that the bad things that are happening and the bad things that are happening without much attention bring it down to good, maybe even okay. But, you know, I could be talked into great. You know, there's lots of stuff that didn't happen this week. And strategists have to look at what we got going for us. Or what didn't happen against it. I don't know how to say it, but you know what I'm saying. You got, when you're looking at the big picture, there's more to take into it than what actually happened. You know, the potentials and what didn't happen. I guess is looking at it that way. We're not doing too bad. On the other hand, we got a lot of ways to go, and well, we're going to get there. It's not like it's a finish line. So I would say the best we can do is to do things in a way that makes some positive movement in a way that is encouraging and informative to the people that come along next, right? So that they've got an inspiration and a reason and at least an example on how to do it. And if we can have fun doing it, then that's even better. But if we can't, we're going to have to get it done either way. So let's have fun doing it. All right. So thanks again, everybody, for showing up. Let's check the comments on the way out. I'm going to agree, a good week. Going to look up and forward. Man, I can't wait. We got a lot of potential. We got a lot of strong people, and we're getting stronger. Unfortunately, experience, right? We don't have experienced people. Not that they're individually inexperienced, but together working as a team on the same side in the same direction, we lack that. We don't have adversaries that know how to use that against us. We just have the difficulties of inexperience working against us. So once we figure out ways to master that, strategies to move, to take those factors out of it, there's no stopping us. It'd be fun. So thanks again. 3 states that pass constitutional carry. Wait, what? 3 states passed along constitutional carry. Hold on. We got Alabama. Am I missing something? We probably have people watching on both channels. I'm simulcasting it on the Gun Websites channel, but I'm also shoving it across over on the Daily Gun Show channel. That makes this count as a Daily Gun Show also. It's one way to get 2 shows in for the price of 1. So some people, see, look, all these people are watching it over here. They're not fake watching it. They're just alternatively watching it. It's legal. It's like carrying left-handed. Left-handed people, because there's no laws against it, are automatically included in all of our constitutional carry laws. Alabama, Georgia, and Nebraska. Well, 3 states constitution, or 3 states senates or whatever, but they didn't all pass, unless I'm missing something. Did Georgia and Nebraska pass all the way and I didn't see it? I go to golf courses if given a chance. Right on. Let's see. So then just got done eating chocolate covered peanuts. Interesting. I bought some peanuts the other day because I haven't had peanuts in a while. And they were pretty darn good. I've been eating mostly pistachios and walnuts. Trying to get off the peanuts, but I do enjoy a bag of peanuts once in a while. Not being a quilter. No, you don't have to quilt. Maybe try sewing maybe doing knit a blanket. You know, a knitted blanket is often appreciated. I want to talk about all that, so we'll quit moving and then go, let's see. Georgia passed today and is going to the governor. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. And then those people are always quirking everything. Well, you know what it is. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us live. And let's put in a good 2 hours. Our Patreons make it possible for us to do this. We got a scroll going across the bottom there. I've been strategizing, working on some other projects, and as I've been doing some other things, kind of doing some yard work to clear my head, I've been thinking about some ways to thank Patreons. I think I've come up with a couple of good ideas. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thanks to the people that show up live. Thanks to those who comment after the fact. We've got lots of different series coming up. And no, I didn't do that good. I was trying to talk and click on stuff at the same time. And like always, that's difficult for me. So we'll go back over here and we'll drop one of these in at the end before we say goodbye one final time. Thanks for watching. Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items. We have shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.